You know that feeling when you have been scrolling for hours and your brain feels mushy, like a thick fog had just ascended in your room? This isn't fatigue, it's a battle for your attention, and a lot of us are losing right now. In this video, we're going to be talking about the engineering behind brain rot and 5 strategies that can help you win the war. We tend to think about this as a bad habit, as though we lack discipline or that we're just being lazy. But in reality, it is much more aggressive than that. There are 1,000-person teams that are engineering algorithms that are there to go and get your attention. Your attention is a resource, and they are trying to mine it. This is a war for your cognitive sovereignty. Especially if you're an ADHD pre-med like me, it's not just about wasting your time, but it's also about the ability for you to think deeply. As a pre-med student with ADHD, I constantly feel this massive tension. On one side, I need to be studying. I need to submit to the demanding world of medicine. On the other hand, there is this digital world that is screaming at me and tell me, please give us your attention. We often Gen Zers call this brain rot. And if you have ADHD, you probably know that feeling. You know the shrinking feeling of spending an afternoon just doom scrolling on TikTok, or looking outside the window and seeing that the sun has already set and you have wasted the entire day just sitting there. Today, I want to talk about how self-education isn't just about learning stuff, but it's also about reclaiming your agency. We're going to look into the neuroscience and why your phone is winning right now. And I'm going to share a framework of how we can fight back and reclaim our brains. First of all, if we want to win a war, we have to understand our enemy. We hear a lot of neurotypical advice of just do it. Just throw your phone. Just don't use your phone. But it doesn't work like that. Your brain doesn't work like that. ADHD brains are wired to harvest dopamine. So in a minefield of dopamine called TikTok, we're gonna just scroll all day because that's how our brain was engineered. Social media platforms are engineered using intermediate reinforcement. It's the exact same psychological mechanism used in slot machines, gambling. When you pull the lever, or by that, scroll, you don't know what you're gonna get. Is it gonna be news? Is it gonna be a funny cat video? They always get me. Or is it gonna be a meme? Or is it something boring? This unpredictability releases a huge dopamine spike in your brain. If every post was good, you would actually get bored. So that's why the unpredictability and the variability makes your brain locked in, because you're trying to find that reward, you're trying to find that good post. And when you get the good post, you get a hit. This is a loop that bypasses your prefrontal cortex, which is our decision-making cortex, and goes straight to our lizard brain, the brain that we shared with our ancestors. And it's not just about dopamine, it goes more deeper than that. It's the hardware itself. Modern screens are designed to be so bright and imitate the sun. So when you're scrolling at night, you're blasting your brain and your retinas with artificial sunlight. So your brain thinks, oh, we should stay awake. And because of that, we do end up staying awake and our ADHD symptoms get worse, feeding back to the loop where it's easier for us to get stuck in just trying to find that dopamine hit. Additionally, these types of platforms have removed something called a stopping cue, which is, for example, let's be like you're reading a book. When you reach at the end of the page, you know that this is the end. So you stop. You either continue by reading the next pages or you don't, but there is a stop cue. You know what is the bottom. But in social media, it's infinite. There is no bottom. There is no pause. They have mechanically just removed that stop cue. So your brain never really understands when to stop. So they never ask you to stop, and then your brain never asks you to stop. So when I say this is war, I really did mean it. You are fighting thousands and thousands of engineers and scientists that are backed by these big corporations that are trying to harvest your attention. You're fighting psychology, biology, and technology all at once. So if passive consumption is poison, intentional self-education is the antidote. And I want to be clear here. I don't mean studying for your classes. I don't mean do what you have been told to do. I mean choosing what you put into your brain. When we doom scroll, we are feeding our brain high sugar, low nutrition content. It feels good for a second, but then you crash. You feel empty and you crash. It destroys your cognitive stamina. When I'm in a brain rot cycle, my executive function tanks. I can't plan, I cannot prioritize. Self-education is about leveraging neuroplasticity. When we engage in deep, active learning, we are physically building new connections in our brain, new neural connections. We are strengthening our pathways that already exist, and we learn how to focus and critically think. We are telling our brains, hey, we can actually do the hard things. Focus more than 15 seconds. For us with ADHD, this is very crucial. We often feel like we are servants to our impulsive decisions. We chase interest and stimulation. But when we engage in self-education, we're taking back the wheel for ourselves. You are moving from just a passive consumer to an active explorer. I found that when I would treat studying not as a chore, but as a way of building my mind against the chaos of the internet, it changes the energy. It turns from, oh, I'm doing this because my professor told me, to I'm doing this because I'm protecting myself and my ability to think. It makes sense, right? If you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, an artist, you have to be able to think about stuff in nuance and complexity. Self-education is the gym where you build that muscle. So with all of that in mind, I want to share with you a framework that have worked for me. These strategies have helped me break the loop and build that cognitive defense. First of all, weaponize your curiosity. Standard advice tells you just follow the syllabus, but our ADHD brain, that is just boring. So we're gonna just not do it and go to our phones to get that spike of dopamine. So instead, I let myself just go down the rabbit holes. Oh my God, I'm reading about the history of something. Oh, because I'm reading about the history of World War I, I wanna know how it started, why it started. Oh, the Archduke of Austria, who was he? I just let myself go down those loopholes and those rabbit holes. I just follow the thread. If it's still educational, what is the problem? This keeps the dopamine flowing, but it's slow dopamine. It keeps my state of active learning going, not passive consumption. You are hacking your brain's desire for novelty, as we said in our last video, but you're directing it towards something that builds your knowledge and doesn't rot your brain. Another strategy that I have is what I call analog friction. Digital tools are great. I love my phone. I love my laptop. I love my iPad. I use them all the time for studying, for taking notes, for a lot of things, for talking to my parents, my family. So it is very, very important parts of our life. But they're also very full of distractions. Like, for example, I start looking at the stickers and other features that are in note-taking app, which makes us completely derail, or makes me completely derail. Plus, the internet is right there. I can just click on it. So I usually often switch to paper and physical books. For example, recently I have been assigned the book Globalizing Capital. Rather than getting a Kindle version of it or getting the free PDF online, I actually bought the book. The texture grounds me. It slows me down because it introduces friction. You can't have that friction. You can't switch. You can't just switch tabs in a book. You can't get a notification from the book too. That's also why I use blackboards when I'm studying. I love writing on blackboards because there is that friction. Like, there is that feedback that you get from writing on a blackboard. And it just keeps you very engaged with the material. And it also makes me not look at my phone as much because I'm not studying on my iPad or laptop or computer. This physical focus creates a walled garden for your mind. It removes the cues that trigger the habit loops we talked earlier about. There are no bright lights, no variable rewards, just studying. Strategy number 3, the creator mindset. Third, embrace the creator mindset. Even if you're not like posting on the internet, when you consume content, you're just passively consuming it. But when you learn something with the intention of teaching it, even if it becomes active. This is a very known technique in psychology because you synthesize the information. You understand it enough to be able to explain it to someone else. For example, engineers always have rubber ducks, you know, the ones that we have played with when we were kids. They have it on their desk and they talk to them when they're trying to solve problems or when they're trying to learn, because it just makes them talk through stuff and try to explain it to someone else, making them see stuff that they can't see if they're just thinking inside their brain or passively consuming. Like, for example, I always often pretend like I'm the professor and that I'm in front of the class and like I'm trying to present this topic. And this forced my brain to engage deeply with the content. And it pushes back that brain fog that we get because it turns information from something I'm holding onto to something I'm using. Another strategy is do an input audit. Your attention span, like a diet. If you ate fast food every day or every meal, you feel terrible. If you consume 60-second clips 5 hours a day, your brain feels terrible. So curate your feed aggressively. Unfollow accounts that trigger the doom scrolling. Subscribe to long form. That's why I love YouTube, because it's long form. It trains your brain to think more deeply. And I watch so many YouTubers that have 2-3 hour long videos, and it just makes me think, even if it's something that is a documentary about something dramatic, but it just trains my attention to be longer because this requires sustainable attention. You want to train your brain to handle long formats again. Last but not least, this leads me to a technique I call pair reading. One of the struggles that ADHDers have when we're reading, especially nonfiction books, it starts to feel very dry, and fiction can be our escape without feeling productive because it doesn't feel productive. So I started reading them in pairs. I would pick a non-fiction book that my professor, for example, assigned me or that I want to read about, maybe biology, history, a biography, and then I pair it with another fiction book that deals with similar themes, not too far off because we don't want to jump between topics, but has a similar theme. For example, if I'm reading a biography of a famous surgeon, I can read it alongside a classical novel that is set in the hospital. The nonfiction gives me the structure, the facts, and the information, while the fictional book gives me the emotion, the empathy, and sets the scene. It makes you engage both sides of your brain. It keeps the novelty high because you're switching between books, but you're also staying in the ecosystem. This has been very, very helpful for me. So I decided to turn it into a community. I'm launching the Quiet Thinker Book Club. We're going to do exactly this. We're gonna pair read, or I'm gonna pick a theme, or we're gonna pick a theme. If we grow large enough, one nonfiction and another fiction book, and read them together. It's a way of also holding ourselves accountable, and it forces me to read. So yeah, you know what? If it helps me read, I will sign up for it. And it also creates a community where we can all engage in discussion, and I love discussion. I have the link in my link tree in my channel description if you want to join us. It's going to be a space where we can slow down and learn and become more intelligent. So now, as you try to implement this, there is some common pitfalls, traps that I'm falling into. First of all, the perfectionist trap. First week, you're so excited about self-education, so you buy 10 books and sign up for 20 courses and create this huge, perfect plan. And then 3 days later, you're tired, you miss a day, and then you're like, well, I already ruined it, so why should I continue? And then we go back to scrolling. This is the all or nothing mindset. Remember, self-education is a lifestyle, not a deadline. You don't have to finish 10 books in a week. You don't have to finish a book a day. It's better to just read one single page consistently than read a whole book in a weekend and then burn out for a month. It's better to read one page a day consistently than read a whole book over the weekend and then burn out for a month. Pitfall number 2. The collector's fallacy. There is where you save 3 million articles, videos, and buy a lot of books. And you get this little hit of dopamine because you discovered something new, and then you act like you're collecting this resource all for yourself. And you feel like you've already learned it just because you bought the book. I'm guilty of this. I'm very guilty of this. Like, I have maximized my watch later playlist because it's basically a graveyard of all my intentions. Collecting isn't learning. You have to engage with the material. Don't let the act of organizing your learning replace the act of learning itself. Pitfall number 3, ignoring the biology. You can have the best willpower in the world, but if you're tired or hungry or overstimulated, the algorithm will win. If you're exhausted after school, after work, or after just a long day, don't try to read a dense philosophy book. That's just setting yourself up for failure. Give your brain a rest, real rest, not scrolling rest. Just take the day off, sleep, take a nap. Let your brain rest. Look, hopefully you can use these strategies and put them into practice and make a change and make a difference in your own cognitive life, whether it's through weaponizing your curiosity, using your analog tools, or joining the book club for some pair reading. But I want to be real with you. As I always say, not gonna always be perfect. You will fail sometimes. You will have days where don't open a book or you're gonna scroll the whole day away. I fail all the time. It's a struggle. And as a student with ADHD, it's a struggle. Living in an attention economy designed to exploit our biology, we're always gonna struggle with this. But when you persevere and you don't blame yourself, it makes the difference. It can really make a huge impact. You can pick up books again. You can choose to learn again, and that's okay. Thank you listening for my talk today. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found something helpful. Please comment below and tell me which strategy you're gonna put into practice today. And if you really liked my video, you can watch my last video on why productivity advice is toxic for people with ADHD. Thank you again for watching my video. Please give this video a like, comment below, and share and subscribe and turn on your notification. Thank you so much and see you later. Bye-bye.